Welcome to Michigan Reimagined, presented by T.A. Forsberg and Wagoner Financial. And here's your host, Chris Buck.
So, artificial intelligence is here in a real and accessible way for the masses. Luckily, I can have guests come on and share with me how to navigate all of this and to discuss what we need to consider as AI becomes a bigger part of our day-to-day lives. Today, we have the founder of Amplify Labs AI Consulting, David Silva Smith, here to shed some light on AI. Welcome to the show, Dave.
Chris, happy to be here, and we're going to talk about my favorite topic.
And that's great, because someone needs to understand how this works better than I do, or we're in a whole lot of trouble. So, okay, artificial intelligence. Someone even mentioned that it's actually augmented intelligence. I don't know if you have an opinion on that, but AI, what is it in a nutshell, just to get the conversation started?
Yeah, I think augmented is a great way to think about that. And it's right in our name, Amplify Labs.
Right.
AI is here today to help people be more productive, to take some of that drudgery away, and there's all kinds of things we don't like doing in our life, and to just make it easier. I don't know if you remember in the 90s, maybe 80s, when they had the Jetsons, and you've got somebody doing your cleaning for you, Rosie the Riveter, Rosie the Robot.
Yep.
It's like that today, where writing a draft of an email, for example, or putting together a proposal, there's a lot of unpleasant work there. And to have you tell the AI, hey, I want it kind of like this, and it just bangs it out in a few seconds. It's really empowering, and I think it opens up creativity, helps improve the accuracy and increase the quality, really, of what people are trying to do by augmenting them and amplifying them.
So, how did you get involved in this space? I've known you for a little while, and you've done a lot of cool, creative things. You haven't had the traditional jobs, or at least since I've known you, you just kind of seem to go to these topics and create a business out of them. So how did you get started in AI, and when did you start paying attention?
Oh my gosh. Well, I started paying attention in the 90s. I was, in the 7th grade or something like that. And, the movies like Terminator 2, it was just really fascinating. I was into computers then, and that was like the ultimate, is having a computer that is just like a person. But it was so far off back then. Computers were really dumb with Windows 98. But there was a chess match between IBM's Deep Blue and Garry Kasparov, and that captured my attention. And I think IBM lost the first time around, but then they rematched like a year later, and so that was the first time that a computer could beat the world chess champion. And then the interesting thing about computers is, it never went back. Like, humans never had a chance again. Humans have gotten better at chess, but computers have gotten so much better at chess. So that's really where the journey started. It was, I guess, 20, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, something like that, just having that interest in it. And AI has been a hot topic my entire, life as a software developer, working for the state of Michigan and consulting for larger companies, being a founder and doing projects for Bosch and companies like that. But it really was kind of like a research project where companies wanted to implement it, but it was too expensive. And so only companies like Facebook and Twitter and Netflix, companies that had millions of dollars to spend on research, could really implement these solutions. And now the exciting thing, Chris, is now today it's really available to anybody. And more it's just being integrated into our lives. So,
I remember the chess scenario. Obviously, it was a long, long time ago, and it was just kind of a computer is going to play a human being. Obviously the phrase artificial intelligence or augmented intelligence, it was not really in there. Between then and kind of this really very recent surge of AI kind of being at the forefront, have there been other maybe accessible or real life early applications that our listeners can kind of wrap their brain around? So, it's like maybe they're right now saying, oh, I never really thought that was at the beginnings of AI, was the chess computer versus human. Were there other things along those lines with some notoriety that you would consider early applications of AI?
I think it's been there behind the scenes, credit card companies for fraud alerts, for example.
Okay.
I've always been amazed whenever I travel, I don't tell the credit card company anything, but it just seems to know, oh, hey, you're in California and you're shopping, no problem. But, oh, hey, when I'm here in Lansing, and then all of a sudden somebody uses my credit card in New York, it's for groceries,
they
boom,
know.
Fraud alerts it. And I'm like, wow. And so there's been a lot of uses like that for AI, and people have probably interacted with chat bots as well.
Right. Okay.
So it's been a lot, behind the scenes. Tesla with their self-driving has been in the forefront a lot, and then social media, all the likes and clicks and ranking.
Right. Those algorithms and all the things behind that kind of learn what makes my Facebook profile kind of uniquely Chris versus maybe your Facebook profile. That's
exactly. They
Dave.
zoom in on how to get you really, amped up and frustrated and, excited about things.
Right. And putting ads, if I say yellow t-shirts, I really want to buy a yellow t-shirt, my phone will probably give me a yellow t-shirt ad here in a little while.
Exactly. Yep. And so before, that power was just for these huge companies that had massive resources. But now, it's probably starting about November of last year, OpenAI released this tool that you can just chat with it, just like you chat with an intern or a person, and it just helps you, do your tasks. Everything from putting together a meal plan to suggesting how to put together a birthday party, or analyzing a legal case or something like that. What are the legal concepts here? Explaining things to you that you don't understand. I've had a hard time understanding string theory. So the other day, I said, hey, explain it to me like I'm 5 years old. Explain it to me like I'm 10 years old. Explain it to me like I'm 15 years old.
Really?
Yeah, and it's just amazing. It's like having an intern there, but this intern knows a lot about almost everything in the world.
Unbelievable. Okay, so to wrap my brain around this a little better, okay, when we talk about social media, I'm using air quotes here, then you go, it's like, all right, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all these different brands that are under the overarching social media name. When I say artificial intelligence, are there brands underneath that umbrella? I say artificial intelligence and it's just kind of this nebulous, there's something out there, but ChatGPT, I'm sure we'll bring that up here in a little bit. Who owns that? Or you talked about the Chat AI, who owns that?
Yeah, so ChatGPT is owned by OpenAI, and Microsoft made a huge investment in them. I think it was like $10 or $12 billion, maybe 6 months ago, something like that. And Microsoft has been, I would say they're like the number one right now. They're AI everything. They're putting it in all their products. I just found out yesterday they've had AI in their Skype product since February, and I had no idea. Before Microsoft, I think Google was when I thought, who was doing a lot in AI, it was Google. And then before that, maybe I thought IBM.
Okay.
And then Tesla, they're interesting too, because I think a lot of people don't think so much AI in Tesla, but Tesla with their self-driving, they're also working on robots. So think back to again Terminator 2 in the 90s,
or Rosie at the Jetsons,
or Rosie at the Jetsons. Yeah, that's a better one because it's nice.
Right.
But Tesla's actually working on humanoid robots that'll be able to help people in factories and around the house and things like that. So it's really amazing. And then Chris, it's changing so fast where like every company is getting into it. I just saw Salesforce is making a huge investment in AI. And I think in the next couple of years, it's going to be a must-have. Like every company is going to have it in their product, or else it's not going to. People aren't going to use their product. I was ready to switch email clients. I've been using ChatGPT from OpenAI for about 5 months now to help me get through my emails. And I was saying, I just want this built into the tool, so I don't have to copy and paste out of OpenAI, out of ChatGPT and into my email and then back and forth. And I've been wanting it built right into the tool. And I was ready to switch to Outlook or Gmail or whatever had it first. And so it's a real interesting opportunity right now where consumers are going to be open to switching because they'll get such a huge productivity boost. Maybe the product will be 10x better with AI in it than before.
Okay, so talking about implementing AI into a product that people are going to buy, which I guess makes a lot of sense. That's how you monetize it. I just think of it, you mentioned having it help you learn, about what was your example? String theory, right. Well, you tell like I'm 5, like I'm 10, like I'm 15. Is that a free service, or do you have to pay like a subscription or to be able to get in and do that kind of homework?
OpenAI has a free product, and then they have one that you pay, I think it's $20 a month, which is the one that I use. And it's a little bit smarter, a little bit more thoughtful. And then it's also got plugins, and it can browse the web. So it's got some add-ons.
Okay.
But a lot of companies are just building it right into their base product. Like I noticed Nextdoor, which is a social media application, they've got a button in there, and you can just click, create a post for me. And you say, hey, I want to, throw a party for my neighbors this weekend, and it'll just put that together for you, draft it for you. And so I think that we're going to see that a lot, where it's just built into products, and they have to have it, or else they're not competitive, and nobody's going to use their offering. So
it's just going to be easier and easier and easier to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's coming. It's already in Gmail, is already testing it. I don't know why, but their product's not very good right now, but it'll get good.
Yeah.
And, it'll be built into LinkedIn. It'll be built into Facebook. It's going to be built into, I think, everything.
So it's hard for the brain not to run down the street, a handful of years and see kind of what is this going to affect. The first thing I literally just thought of is academics. I've got, one of my sons just graduated college, right? And the other one is in the middle of college. So as that flywheel spins faster, they will probably be out of the education realm. But what is a fifth grader right now going to deal with when they're in high school? How does curriculum change? How does writing a term paper, if they even do that anymore today? It's certainly different than going to the encyclopedias when I was a kid to try to get some raw ideas and then create my own stuff. Now you have Google, and this is just going to be kind of a hyper extended version of that, I would imagine.
Well, yeah, absolutely, Chris. And we don't know where it's going to head. And
right.
it's moving so fast. It's changing day to day, and we don't know where things are going to end up. What we do know is the technology is advancing very quickly. The costs are coming down, the efficiencies are going up, the pressure to put it in is increasing. And then thinking about it from that education perspective, when I was a kid, I'd have to think about, why is the sky blue or something like that? And I just have to think about it and maybe hope that something came on TV to explain it to me. Or
right.
like you said, if I wanted to learn about it, I'd have to go to a library or who knows what. Like it was a task. So mostly I just thought about things. And then when Google came out, we didn't have to think about things anymore. We just Google it, and we would know the answer.
Yeah, how old is Pete Rose? If nobody knew, you'd have to go find someone either who knew, or you go to the library and look it up.
Exactly.
And, it's been so long since I've had to do any of that. If you have immediate answers,
And so and some people think, hey, it's good for people to think and wonder about. But then the practicalities of, hey, you can just Google it and you get the right answer. And we're seeing that same thing with AI. There's probably some value to thinking about things or to performing a math function with a calculator, but there's a whole lot of value in putting in your question and having a first draft and not having to do the drudgery.
Right. So you can see all the amazing benefit, right? It's certainly going to help shorten timelines to get certain things accomplished and just efficiencies that are going to be created. But there's also kind of some scary possibilities. And so far it's all been, how great is this? It's all going in the right direction. What worries you about AI?
What worries me? I'm a positive.
I know you are. That's why I wanted you on.
Glass half full kind of guy. But what worries other people? All kinds of things. They're worrying about the extinction of humanity at the far end of the spectrum. They see this, could be like a nuclear war where AI, gets smarter than people, and just like in the movies, it takes over everything and wipes out all of humanity. And going down a notch from that, I think a lot of people worry about jobs. Like, what are people going to do? And I think on the pro side, we've just seen technology, advance through our entire human history. And people always worry about all the damage it can do, and they always worry about all the jobs it's going to destroy. But at the end of the day, it creates new jobs, and
right.
and I think it improves our lives on that and enables us to do things we couldn't do before. And I think we'll see that same thing with AI, and I'll let the governments and all those people worry about, making sure that we don't get extincted by it.
Right on. And it's funny you mentioned that. I agree. And it seems like the tech in general and then AI is probably going to replace a lot of the jobs people really didn't like doing anyway. I've witnessed live, and then you see memes and sarcastic little quips about the self-checkout at Kmart or Meijer grocery store or wherever, or the Easy Pass or iZoom or whatever that's on your car instead of the toll takers that we had when I was a kid. And people are resentful of that. They're like, that technology took a person away. That's a job that someone doesn't have. I'm like, they can't get enough people to do those jobs in the best of times. Nobody wants to do that job. So to automate that job so that person can go do something that's maybe a little bit more enriching and beneficial to humanity, it's a nice blend. And then you talk about the population, where I know Michigan's really thinking about it right now, and I think the U.S. and maybe the world, where death rates are overshadowing birth rates and population decline and all that kind of stuff. We almost need AI and this technology to continue to have jobs done that we aren't going to have people for in the future anyway.
Yeah, I'm with you, Chris. I think it's going to be, exciting and, help people be more creative and do more interesting work. I haven't heard any business owners that I've been talking with saying that they want to reduce their workforce. Everybody's talking about, we want to make people more productive and take away the parts of the jobs that they don't appreciate, that can be automated, while still having people use their creativity and their people-to-people skills to just make their work better, make it more enjoyable.
Right. So is AI regulated at all? I mean, is that being discussed? Are you paying attention to whether the government is going to create some sort of an AI task force or something like that?
Yeah, there's definitely regulations coming, and there's already regulations that exist. We live in the United States, and pretty much everything is regulated. I think you even need like licenses to cut people's hair and things
sure
like that. So there's nothing that happens in the U.S. that's not regulated. So today you've got to worry about data privacy, bias, data ownership, ownership of. Not only the data that goes into the system, you have to worry about that, like if you're at a company, putting private, confidential information in there, but also the information that these tools spit out right now. There's questions about who owns that. And I believe the standing right now from the copyright and patent offices is that content generated from these AI tools is not able to be owned by people. And so that could be a problem for some businesses. But then getting back to the core of your question, and what I think you really meant is, are there going to be specific AI regulations? And I think that's absolutely coming. A couple weeks ago, Sam Altman, the founder of OpenAI, and somebody from IBM and a professor, they were, they're up in front of Congress, and they're all saying, hey, we need regulations, and so I'm pretty sure that there are regulations coming, and hopefully they'll help protect us from the world-ending events that I'm not worried about.
Right on. Well, I have another little chunk I want to get into, but I do want to thank one of our sponsors. And when it comes to creating commercial and residential spaces, there's no one I trust more than my friends at the Forsberg Real Estate Company. Brent Forsberg and his team take a holistic approach to creating an environment that suits your needs while creating a foundation for a prosperous community. Since the 1950s, Forsberg's been a name to trust if you're looking for a partner on a project, to occupy a great space to live or work, or simply follow one of the great thought leaders in our state. Reach out to my friends at Forsberg Real Estate Company by calling 517-349-9330 or check out their website at lansingrealestate.com. You will not regret it. So Amplify Labs AI, right? So your firm that is now live and helping companies implement AI into their business.
Exactly.
So what exactly? So what kinds of companies should be reaching out to you, and kind of what is your maybe your overarching first steps into implementing AI, or things that they should be thinking about, or opportunities that maybe they don't know about and they'd want to call you and kind of figure out how to get this thing started?
Yeah. So the companies that are reaching out to us today, it's typically people who are on the leading edge. They've already played with AI. They've already used it, and it's really opened up their mind. And they're thinking like, hey, I've got Steve over here, and he spends 20 hours a week doing proposals or who knows what, and
right.
And they've seen
grant writing.
Grant writing. That's a great one. And they think, gosh, how much time, when you're writing a grant, how much time is spent, reading a huge document and putting together a lot of boilerplate versus having a tool, automatically do that draft for you or help you with that. Or even it can be creative and say, hey, have you thought about this? Have you considered these items? You can have the AI review it from different perspectives, from a legal perspective, from an accounting perspective. And so that's really interesting. So then getting back to your question about, who should be thinking about contacting us, people who are in that realm where they're excited and they're wondering, can I? They're the dreamers. They're on the early edge. They're wondering, can we get a step ahead of our competition? Can we get, huge efficiencies? Can this change the game for us? There was a company that had been working for a few years on a presentation software, and it wasn't going anywhere. Everybody's like, hey, PowerPoint's fine, Keynote's fine. And they implemented AI into their tool set. They went from like 3,000 users to 3 million in maybe a month or two, raised $40 million at a $300 million valuation. It was an absolute game changer for their business. And it's just shocking, what can be done. A step before that is to just get familiar with these tools. There are some people who are like, oh, I've heard about AI, but I haven't used it at all. Just go try out one of these tools. Go try out ChatGPT, and that'll give you an idea of, hey, is this thing useful or not? You'll hear people on shows saying this is garbage. It puts out absolute trash. Wouldn't use it. Doesn't help at all. And I just wonder, have these people actually used this thing? Have they given it a shot?
Right.
And so I'd recommend anybody out there who's curious, just go try it yourself and say, hey, create me a meal plan or analyze this legal paper for me. those kinds of things. And I think people will see value very quickly.
I had someone say, I hate writing letters of recommendation. And I had this young man ask me if I'd write a letter of recommendation for him to either get a job or get into grad school or something like that. And he's like, I'm going to procrastinate. And he's just like, hey, what the heck? I'm going to just type it in, write a letter of recommendation for grad school to this university for this discipline. And he's like, it propped it up. And he's like, I'm like 85% of the way done. Now I just want to tweak it and make it sound a little bit more like me. But he's like, it really took the burden of procrastination off of my shoulders. And I had someone else do something similar. It was like, hey, make a business plan for this or write a letter regarding that or whatever. But the point of his story was I did it. And he's like, it was really wordy. And I'm more of a bullet point kind of person. So I said, rewrite it in more bullet point fashion, be more succinct, limit it 500 words or something like that. And it kind of had all the punch points and the same general content, but it was written more like in his voice.
Exactly.
So I've never dabbled with this, and now I'm getting more intrigued as we discuss it. So that's fantastic. So final question I had for you really, are there Michigan-based companies that are or startups that are on their way outside of you or including you that are kind of leading the way in AI innovation?
Yeah, there's a company called May Mobility in Ann Arbor, and they do self-driving vehicles. I haven't tried it out myself. I want to go down there, but I think you can I think it's free, except for on Saturdays when there's a couple bucks. But you can hop into a vehicle and it'll drive you around the city from point A to point B.
Wow.
And I feel like, Chris, that's a taste of what's coming. Actually, I was in San Francisco a couple months ago, and they've got that stuff going on out there. But, 10 years from now, are we going to see 10% of cars on the road doing that, 20%?
Right.
But eventually, I think it's going to be 100%, 100 years from now.
Right. Well, that's fantastic. How can people get in touch with you and Amplify Labs AI just if they want to learn more and kind of start tinkering on this?
Yeah, amplifylabsai.com. And Chris, here, I'm going to announce it right here on your show.
Yeah.
We think that everybody should try this out. And so we're going to develop some resources, an AI training center right here in Michigan, headquartered here in Lansing.
Wow.
And we'll have some free resources so people can come on our website today, amplifylabsai.com, sign up there and be the first to know when we've got our resources available, because the space is changing so fast. There's so much to know. And really, we're going to help people, cut through all that noise and just get what they need to know.
Fantastic. AmplifyLabsAI.com. We've been talking to its founder, David Smith. Hey, Dave, thank you so much for coming in here today. And I really want to thank our sponsors, TA Forsberg and Wagoner Financial. Check them out if you need help on that end, but definitely check out AmplifyLabsAI.com.
Thanks, Chris.